He started hitting me really hard and choking me.
No, what happened?
Because that's the actual truth. That's the actual truth. I never laid a hand.
Ever felt like the world decided who you were before you even got a chance to speak? That the second you walked into a room, someone saw you, sized you up, and immediately categorized you into a box you had no say in? That's exactly what happened to me. But it wasn't just any night, it was the night everything changed. It all started at a crowded bar on a Saturday night in Miami. The music was loud, the crowd was buzzing, and I was just trying to have a good time. That's when I met Ryan, mid-40s, dressed sharp, smiles easy, definitely the kind of guy that didn't make you question anything. He seemed friendly, laid back, nothing about him screamed danger. We hit it off, and after a couple of drinks, he asked me if I wanted to head back to his place. Nothing out of the ordinary, right? People meet, they talk, they go back to their apartments. But when we got to his place on the 27th floor, everything turned. That's when he showed me his badge, and everything changed. That badge wasn't just a symbol of authority. No, it was a signal, telling me that whatever happened next, I was the one who would be judged, not him. He asked me, "What are you?" I said, "I told you already." And that's when the real horror began. Ryan wasn't angry, not at first. He was confused, maybe even frustrated. He kept asking the same question, "What are you?" like he didn't believe the answer I had given him. I told him again, "I'm a transgender woman." But his eyes, they didn't soften, they hardened. That's when I knew I wasn't human anymore in his eyes. I was just a thing that didn't fit into his narrow understanding of reality. He started getting physical, shoving, pushing, but then it got worse. He grabbed my wrist, tight, so tight I thought it might snap. I pulled away, but he didn't let go. He shoved me against the wall. I felt the air escape from my lungs. I begged him, "Stop, please, what are you doing?" But he didn't hear me, or maybe he didn't care. He didn't stop. He threw me across the room, into furniture, breaking anything that stood in his path. His rage was suddenly unpredictable. I was terrified. I didn't know if I was going to make it out of there. I tried to run, but the door was locked. I screamed for help, pounding on the door, but in the back of my mind I knew no one would help me. Not if they knew. He was a cop, and I wasn't just some girl. He had decided I was his problem. Then came the worst part. When the cops arrived, I had to tell my story over and over again. They barely looked at me. It wasn't because they didn't care, though. No, they looked at me like I was the one in the wrong. They asked what happened. But they didn't listen to my story, not really. They looked at Ryan, they looked at his badge, and that made them trust him, trust his version. The officer who questioned me, they asked if I was drunk, if I was playing games, and as they listened to his version about how I attacked him, they just nodded. A few polite gestures, a quick glance towards me, then back to him. I wasn't a victim anymore. I was a suspect, and all because of the power he held. Then came the real kicker. They handcuffed me, not him. They didn't even look twice at Ryan. He was calm, collected, explaining everything as if he was used to being in control. But me? I was suddenly the one being investigated, the one who was now seen as a threat. In the squad car, I told them I was having a panic attack. My heart raced, my chest tightened. I almost thought I was going to pass out. But they didn't care. They kept telling me to calm down, as if it was that simple. In the police station, the questioning continued. I sat there for hours, hands still cuffed, without even a sip of water. But Ryan, he was already walking free. The officers barely made eye contact with me. Not once did they question his motives. Not once did they ask why he hadn't stopped when I said no. They didn't even care that his badge made him an authority figure. They cared that he was a cop, and I wasn't. And in the end, no charges for him. He walked away. The case quietly dropped. Just like that. But they didn't care about me. Now, looking back, I've had a lot of time to think about what happened that night. And I've realized that this wasn't just about me and Ryan. It's bigger than that. It's the system. It's the prejudice that's buried so deep it doesn't even have to be spoken. The bias that colors every interaction, every moment, until it becomes so normalized that no one even notices it. See, Ryan wasn't just a cop who made a mistake that night. He was a product of a system that lets people like him abuse their power. He didn't need to raise a fist. He didn't need to yell. All he had to do was assert his power with that badge. And that's what's dangerous. We need to face the reality of bias in law enforcement. It's not always loud, it's not always obvious, but it's always there. It's not just about race, though let's not ignore that. It's about who's seen as worthy of protection and who isn't. And when it's easier to trust the story of a man in uniform than the story of someone who doesn't fit society's narrow view of normal, we all lose. The fact that this case was dropped, that's not just a failure of law enforcement. That's a failure of all of us, because it tells us that some people are more valuable than others, that certain lives are more important, more worthy of protection than others. But here's the thing. When we let that happen, when we let bias decide who gets to live their truth without fear, what does that say about us? I'm not saying the system is broken by any repair, but I'm telling you this, it's time we start fixing it one story at a time. And that's why I'm telling you this now, because if we don't speak up, if we don't question what happened, then we are complicit. And that's the last thing I want to be. So let me ask you this. Do you think this kind of thing happens every day? Do you think it's just isolated incidents? Or is it part of something bigger, something systemic? How many more people are walking away with their lives destroyed because no one's listening? Drop your thoughts below. Have you ever had an experience like this? What do you think should happen next? What can we do to make sure something like this never happens again? We've got to hold each other accountable. That's how change happens, by speaking up, by not looking away when injustice happens. So whatever you do, stay informed, stay human, keep questioning authority, because the moment we stop questioning, we let things like this go unchecked. Let's make sure we're all part of a society where everyone is treated with the dignity and respect they deserve, no matter who they are. Comment, share, speak up.